So today we're going to be talking about Tales of the Jedi, and something that's been a hot button subject within the fandom over the last few days, and that is whether or not the show retcons Star Wars novels and important stories involving Count Dooku and Ahsoka. I've seen various opinions on this topic, and it seems like some Star Wars fans are pretty upset about it, especially if they went out and read the books in question and believed Disney when they told us how important those canon stories were. And with the release of Tales of the Jedi on Wednesday, the question of canonicity in Star Wars has arisen once again. Now we know that TV shows and movies will always take precedence, especially over the comics and novels, but when we're told that certain books are canon, or rather just as canon, because some fans believe there should be levels of canonicity, it's such a shame when they go and contradict those stories. So let's begin by breaking down where Tales of the Jedi broke Star Wars canon. Let's start with Ahsoka, and the episode in question is the final one, Episode 6, Resolve. And once again, the novel being contradicted or changed is E.K. Johnston's Ahsoka, the 2016 book, which until quite recently was taken very seriously. Now, as you may know, this is not the first time aspects of the novel have been altered or changed. For example, in the Clone Wars Season 7, the events of the Siege of Mandalore do not match those of the book, and we had more retcon debates surrounding some of the comics after the Bad Batch Season 1, and despite E.K. Johnston herself saying that she didn't mind the retcons and just sees them as a reinterpretation of the same story, some fans believe Tales of the Jedi went too far, especially, as I say, in Episode 6. And admittedly, there are numerous divergences, some of which are serious enough for the episode to completely contradict the book. Let's talk about these. Now, the most crucial one, in my opinion, was that the invading Imperial forces that were in the book are replaced by a single Inquisitor, and not even the same one, but we'll talk about him specifically a bit later. Another thing is that Ahsoka goes back from her self-imposed retirement in the span of one scene, and her use of the Force to save someone is completely recontextualized into an act which only accidentally led to the reveal of her true identity. Now, you could argue that a 14 or 15-minute episode is not enough to adapt a large part of the book, but there's a major difference between pragmatic compression and changing things to the point of irreconcilable differences, seemingly just for the sake of changing them, and many of the fans devoted enough to have read the book in the first place were evidently not pleased. Not to mention one crucial character, Kaden Lart, who in the novel helped Ahsoka overcome her past and learn her flaws, was race-swapped, and that's a problem many fans had. Now, after the events of Order 66, Ahsoka felt she had no other option but to retreat from the fight and stay low. Now, this sentiment is true of both Tales of the Jedi and the Ahsoka novel, and she even uses the name Ashla as a cover in both stories. Not only that, but across both, she chooses to settle down in a farming environment on a regular planet. But almost everything else about the story is different. In the Ahsoka novel, the former Jedi lives comfortably for a while, posing as a mechanic amongst the planet's agricultural workplace. This all changes when the Empire settles down, and for various reasons things get messy, with the town falling into open sabotage against the Empire's occupation. Ahsoka even works with them while trying to maintain her hidden secrets. She eventually has to confess to her newfound allies after saving them from an incoming blaster fire with the Force. In Tales, on the other hand, the big moment that causes a shift in the status quo also revolves around Ahsoka saving a worker with the Force. However, this time, it's saving someone with the Force from heavy hay bales. This doesn't even expose her identity to everyone, just that one person, not including the peeping Tom. Additionally, in the book, there's also a running plotline of how Ahsoka secretly helps a Force-sensitive child from getting captured by the Empire, something she admits she wants to do more of, but this makes no appearance in the show. As I say, there wasn't time for everything in a 14-minute short. On a darker note, another similarity between the two is how most of the supporting characters die at some point within the planet's struggle against the Empire, or in this case, a single Inquisitor. Now, the culmination of Ahsoka's outcast story in both comes in the form of a duel with one of Darth Vader's Inquisitors. But there are some huge differences. In the book, the Jedi Hunter was the sixth brother. There's even concept art of what he looked like. Although in Tales of the Jedi, the bad guy in question is someone entirely different, who is seemingly a completely new invention. What the two stories do share, though, is how quick the confrontation is. Even without a lightsaber, Ahsoka is so powerful in the Force, she can deal with him instantly. But one key difference reference in the book is how she takes the red kyber crystals from the Inquisitor's broken lightsaber and purifies them into the white ones she'd eventually have by the time of Star Wars Rebels and The Mandalorian. And so now let's address the relationship between Ahsoka and Bail Organa, another big change from the show. In the opening minutes of the short, Bail Organa spots Ahsoka at Padmé's funeral. He wastes no time in catching up with her and tries to convince her to keep the fight alive. As told by the book though, Bail Organa doesn't actually meet her face to face until the last third of the book, an encounter where it's revealed that the Senator had no idea she was alive. And adding Ahsoka to Padmé's funeral also changes Revenge of the Sith. As an additional note, one of Ahsoka's final moments with Organa in the book is when she officially creates the Fulcrum moniker as originally introduced in Star Wars Rebels. Now that is a massive plot point that many would have assumed Filoni would have included in this retelling, yet it's now left to the far less relevant book. As I say, visual content, the TV shows and the movies take precedence. It's worth noting that Dave Filoni himself has previously claimed to have worked with Ahsoka writer E.K. Johnston. And so if everything was approved, why did Dave decide he needed a redo? The retconning leaves a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouths and just seems a bit pointless. With Tales of the Jedi, there really wasn't any inherent need to give audiences this strange echo of the Ahsoka novel. They should have either stuck to it, at least to some extent, or gone a completely different way with it. Surely there were plenty of other worthwhile Ahsoka stories that Filoni could have written without completely upending Johnston's book in the first place. But some fans might be wondering, could these changes have anything to do with what the writer and director is looking to achieve in the live-action Ahsoka series next year? Despite taking place at very different points in the timeline, with the Ahsoka show taking place after Return of the Jedi, there could still be connections there. Now, a crucial part of why Star Wars fans love the new books, at least the ones branded as canon, is because there's an emphasis on their importance. Disney Star Wars markets them as must-reads, but if they're eventually going to retcon them, a lot of fans might feel the publishing side might just not be worth it. And the same thing has happened to Count Dooku. The point in the timeline of when he left the Jedi Order has changed. Our understanding of the novels Master and Apprentice and Dooku Jedi Lost have been altered forever. It was believed for a long time that he left before the Phantom Menace, but according to Tales of the Jedi, it was between the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. He talked to his apprentice Qui-Gon Jinn about what Jinn and Kenobi discovered on Tatooine, and he even managed to fit in the murder of Master Yaddle. So the lowdown is, don't take canon books as seriously as the TV shows or the movies. Even if they're branded as important and canon, they seem very willing to change it. But what are your thoughts, guys? What do you think about this whole debacle? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new. If you want to support the channel and get access to videos not found here on YouTube, you can click the join button down below or click the link in the description. But until the next one, my dear friends, may the Force be with you always.